The Call of Duty League stands against racism, inequality, and injustice. Let's make change together. Activision Blizzard has made a donation and set a goal of raising over $4 million to help provide transformative opportunities to Black Americans to eliminate systemic racism and discrimination. Go to callofdutyleague.com/impact for organisations recommended by our teams and links with information on how to get involved. During the Minnesota Røkkr home series this weekend, we will be raising money to stop police brutality and help rebuilding efforts in Minneapolis. Our players have chosen to wear this message on their jerseys. #Justice for George Floyd. In honour of George Floyd, Minnesota Røkkr is supporting organisations addressing racism, inequality, and rebuilding locally in Minneapolis and St. Paul, efforts supported by the Call of Duty League. Please head to røkkr.gg/donate or to learn more about these organisations, and please consider showing your support. Hello everyone and welcome to the Call of Duty League. It is so lovely to have you joining us here today. And I quickly just want to say a couple of things about the global situation happening in the world right now, because it saddens me that there's a lot of terrible things that can happen to our fellow human beings. And as human beings, I think it's time we should stand up against racism and inequality and injustice and make a move on it, make a change, do something about it, be vocal. Let's not allow this to happen anymore. It's really important that we rebuild society together and unite as one, because after all, we need to look out for each other. It's super, super important. So, gentlemen, I just want to quickly know your thoughts about everything that is happening right now.
I honestly completely agree. And I agree with a lot of what Miles and Phil said yesterday to start the show. Racism is just disgusting. And I want to thank the Call of Duty League and Minnesota Røkkr for shining a light on it. Now is, of course, a time for healing, but also a time for education, to learn so much about what is currently going on in the world. And massive love to Minnesota Røkkr. Obviously, we have some fantastic courses. If you guys can donate, obviously we'd appreciate that, or just show your support as much as possible, so we as a community can try and heal and help fellow man. Because, as I said, racism at its core is disgusting. There's no place in it in our world.
Agreed, and I really do be able to appreciate being able to speak my piece on this, but past couple days trying to think of something profound to say, and I got nothing. But I don't think that it is necessarily a bad thing, right? One voice is not the most important thing in the world, because the collective is. And I think we're seeing protests all around the world. Everyone is seeming to come together to fight for a common cause, and I can appreciate and respect anyone that's willing to fight for basic human rights.
Absolutely. Well said, gentlemen. I love that. But we do have a whole day ahead of us here at the Call of Duty League. So of course we do want to get into this right away for you guys at home, because after all, we're here to have fun, bring you guys entertainment, and bring you some of the best Call of Duty in the entire world. That is right, you heard it here. I'm gassing up our teams, of course. They are the best in the world. So let's take a look at our US Army schedule for today. Now, I just want to say, fellas, we will discuss Florida versus the Guerrillas very soon, but I want to just quickly highlight here, 2:30 p.m. Eastern, Dallas Empire versus Atlanta FaZe. I would call these two teams the Untouchables. However, FaZe, what happened there, guys?
That second game is going to be a fantastic one. FaZe yesterday showed massive signs of weakness. Yes, they make a fantastic comeback. But you look at that whole schedule, and I look at those first four games, and I think, today is going to be a great day. I think we have some fantastic matches. I think overall it's just going to be some entertaining gameplay. And I'm excited because yesterday kind of started with a couple of upsets, and potential upsets were on the cards as well. So who really knows what we're going to get today?
And I'm just excited for it. Well, I'm excited for all of it, as you have to be as a caster, right? But I think really that Seattle one is going to be great, right? We have Seattle that potentially on the upturn, that almost 3-0'd FaZe, that not almost 3-0'd, almost 3-1 FaZe, I think would be more fair to say. But you got them going against the Minnesota Røkkr, who both of these guys effectively looking for redemption. The Røkkr trying to bounce back to get where they once were, if not surpass that. And Seattle, again, we're at the bottom, still haven't beat a team that's anyone but the Guerrillas, but they looked phenomenal yesterday, and I'm very excited to see what they can bring today on Saturday.
Now, talking about a team that looked phenomenal yesterday, I've got to talk about the Florida Mutineers. I mean, this has happened time and time again. It's like a repeat of, it's like being in a time machine almost for Chicago. But I just want to quickly highlight that I did see before the weekend that Envoy had said in an interview, the last few times that they played Florida, it didn't really work out for them. But now that they have Pristini, they're a different team and they can potentially turn it round. And that they've worked on their S&D and hardpoint and that they went 7-0 last event. True. And hardpoint was looking really decent for Huntsmen. Hardpoint was looking good, not perfect, but decent. However, the hits on S&D and Dom was ultimately their demise. So this Chicago team, you know, what do you think right now, Ben, that they have to do to come out of the gates here a little bit hotter than yesterday?
Different team, same result, right? It's one of these weird things where Florida Mutineers have just become the boogeyman for Chicago Huntsmen. That's a big concern when you look at kind of just the overall standings and who may play who round 1, round 2, come championship at the end of the season. I'd be pretty concerned. If I'm honest, I think somehow Chicago Huntsmen have to figure out how to beat the Florida Mutineers. And again, every single time I seem to doubt Florida, they prove me wrong. I gave them a ton of props, and then a few weeks later, I'm like, all right, maybe I was too soon to give them props. Guess what? They bounced back, some fantastic results, and I want to give some credit to Awakening as well, because overall, we had a couple of debuts yesterday, and he had a fantastic one. I think credit where credit is due. It's never easy, coming into the league, all eyes on you, your first, competitive games, but performed very, very well. That's
what I was going to say. Like, it's not just that he performed well, it's who he had to go against. Like, that is his debut. Yeah. He's got to go against T2P, a team that has won multiple championships, not just throughout COD history, but even in this game. And he went toe-to-toe, dropped up pretty decent numbers. Like, I think he dropped 35, map 1, right? Like, how nervous would that guy have to be to come out and play against those guys in map 1? He does that well. Like, it was impressive to see, and I'm excited to see if he can keep that level of production up.
So am I. And looking at the stats that we did just see for his debut, he did have a 0.69 KD on S&D, and despite that kind of being in the lower end of the KDs there, they did win both S&Ds. So what does that tell you about Florida?
They're just resilient, man. I really think that's the case. Again, every single time I doubt them, they come back and they prove me wrong. Another good result. But for me, the key for Florida now, yes, you can beat Chicago Huntsmen. You've not lost to them. That's great. That's actually truly incredible. But you have to find that consistency against all the other teams, right? If you want to win another championship, if you want to get back on top, you have to find that consistency just throughout a weekend. And I look at their first game today is, to be honest, a very, very big challenge.
Yeah, indeed it is. Talking about Florida Mutineers, we've got the game fuel keys to victory on our screens right now. Nameless has got all the tips and tricks for these teams and trying to bring that over the line. This should be Skies' playground. Chance, agreeing with that? Is Skies maybe going to be popping off today?
Well, I think for this series he's going to need to, at least for the respawns. Guerrillas are a sneakily good search and destroy team. They're like, I think, the 3rd best record overall, at least as of recent. So the respawn is where the Guerrillas have been lacking. That's where Florida needs to pounce. That's where Skies needs to make sure he turns up.
Indeed, we've got the Guerrillas keys to victory right now. Saints the Vivid need to keep up their performances. Hell yes, they do. Saints has been a fantastic piece to this puzzle. But I've also got to give a bit of love to Blast too, because he was doing so much for these guys in S&D too. What did you make of Guerrillas overall, Ben?
Very, very good. I was super impressed. I think the only thing Saints needs to do is maybe not spoil the game on social media before it's actually done. That'd probably be his kind of next step. But honestly, it's great to see Saints playing again. I've been watching him play pretty much his entire career. I think he's a fantastic addition to this squad. He should be playing in the league, in my opinion. I think he has all the ability in the world. And I think you saw that kind of immediate improvement that he brings to this squad.
Yeah, indeed. And we got our US Air Force maps and modes on the screen right now. Got to say, Guerrillas had some night and day hardpoint against Ultra because, Ramaza, perfect rotations. They worked really, really nicely as a team. Then Hackney Yard was just shocking. But they do have Ramaza. It was. But they do have Ramaza as their last hardpoint. So if it does go the distance, and if they clean up on Gunrunner to begin with, we could actually be seeing a pretty good game here.
I agree, and I do think talking about the maps is worthwhile because, again, you called the Hackney shocking. It's like 250 to 85, one of like the 300-point clubs we've seen this year. So it was brutal, but they got rid of that map. We get to see them on a different hard point, so I'd assume in that regard it's going to be a better look. Then the same thing can be said for the domination. So I think they made the right call with the pick and bans.
I hope so, gentlemen. Well, I'm really looking forward to this first game of our day 2 here. So I'm gonna hand over to your very capable hands and listen to you very intently, gents.
Thank you so much, Lottie. Always a good time speaking Call of Duty with you. A chance. Hopefully, we have ourselves a good series on our hands, and hopefully a good way to start off day 2. We had a fair amount of game 5s yesterday. Hopefully we get a few more today. But just overall, as the hardpoint gets underway, Chance, predictions for this series? Which way are you swinging here?
I think I'm swinging Florida just because I think they're stronger across the board. I think just almost full stop that I'm expecting them at the very least to be the better respawn team. And while Guerrillas might have an edge in search and destroy, I think Florida's strong enough that they can at least manage to split 1-1. So that would be my expectation. I'm about 70-30 way this out.
What's interesting is I rarely ever disagree with you. I think you're one of the smartest brains in Call of Duty, but for some reason...
You're feeling it, Ben. You're feeling the Guerrillas.
I'm about to get on board with that hype train for the LA Guerrillas, man. I feel like things may start clicking relatively soon. And for me, yes, Florida Mutineers, as I mentioned, they can keep beating Chicago Huntsmen, but I need to see that consistency again. And I mean, this is going to be a good test for that, right? If they do come out and win, maybe this could be their weekend, but I'm expecting to see some good things out of Los Angeles Guerrillas. And for me, I really want to focus heavily on Saints. He's going to be a player where I think he has to have such an important effect and impact on the Guerrillas if they're going to come out and beat a team like the Florida Mutineers.
And it'll be interesting to see where Saints kind of slots in as well, because I think at least statistically yesterday, for the respawns especially, he wasn't where we were really expecting him to be. But at the same time, he might also be able to mold himself into a player that just sort of makes everyone else better. Like, I want to see the entire team sort of get elevated, KD-wise, win-wise, whatever it's going to be. So obviously, he is the man to make the impact. And of course, on the flip side, you can say the exact same thing about Awakening. See how this young man is going to be able to perform on day 2.
And a pretty good way to start your CDL career. And you continue really where you left off yesterday here in this game. After a hill and a half, as it stands, it's advantage Florida Mutineers, 34-15. The lead, of course, a small one. Earl up top, looking down. He'll find himself his second kill in quick succession. Both Blast and Aqua fall. Looking for number 3, unsuccessful for the LA Guerrillas. The final contest should not be enough to break through. But when you look at the minimap and you look at the spawns, it's going to be LA ready for P3.
And LA did do a very nice job of just making sure you put pressure on the old hill. If you're not able to break through, at least give yourself the free rotation. You can see the level of map clearance they have right now. I think Aqua is one of the most aggressive kind of key man, and that's who Havoc is trying to deal with. But you have to try to get past all these players just to take gunfights in the hill, because Blast right now is just hanging out. He's big chilling. He's got his feet up, trophy in the hill. His teammates right now are putting in all the work for him.
Yeah, just making his life easy. Milk all the hill time you possibly can. 2 players going to be pushing for Florida straight at Blast. He'll find the first. Again, has support of a couple of teammates here. Awakening maybe next on Blast's to-do list. Doesn't even need to. Trophy down. LA Guerrillas slaying out. Still 30 seconds left here on P3. And Florida, they've not even broken the first line of defense. As I say that, though, they finally do. Blast is still alive inside the hill, however, and the support is coming very, very quick. But Blast is doing it all himself. May not even need the help. A 4-streak for him so far. And LA Guerrillas back in the lead.
And again, all of this hill, it really comes down to just how they actually manage the previous hill, like towards the scrap time. Again, LA Guerrillas were not able to fight and break through on the hill, but they still poured on just enough pressure to keep the other team, Florida Mutineers, at bay pretty much the entire time. Now they have themselves a decent little 18-point lead, but as you can see, we got that seesaw effect going. It's actually Florida the new hill, but with the gunfight going way of Vivid, it looks like Guerrillas are going to be nice to bump up their lead just a little bit more.
Yeah, that's a really nice gunfight to win on that rotation. Just give yourself the early advantage as well. And more importantly, still holding down that spawns for the new hill when it eventually pops. LA Guerrillas could actually start to build themselves quite a sizable lead here. Blast has been so patient, so coy, beautifully done. Finally peeks, finds the first, now wants to go for the flank, almost finds himself the second. Decimate looking to trade, however, will find at least one. Can he find more? That's the question as he pushes forward. Unfortunately, the answer, no. For LA Guerrillas, they're still holding down the spawn. Blast has done a good job doing that with the help there of Decimate as well. As soon as he came off spawn, just making sure that there's no Florida Mutineers players at all putting pressure on Nuke.
Well, honestly, even in all, the pressure game isn't too great. I was going to say, like, Florida, in theory, had the advantage with spawns for quite some time, but a very nice job in the slaying department coming in from Los Angeles Guerrillas just to keep them at bay. So still about that 30-point margin, but they were able to pull off the 60 over on the Trax hill. Now we go to one of the better money hills in the game. You have to imagine the Guerrillas are going to be good to go. The only man that tried to make the hero play from Florida is going to get chopped down, stopped in his tracks, and Guerrillas starting to run away with this game just a little bit.
Yeah, this is getting a little out of hand here for Florida Mutineers. We mentioned that kind of seesaw effect. Well, unfortunately, right now, Florida Mutineers have not been able to respond. Will they finally get a break here? Black is in the hill by himself for the LA Guerrillas. Unfortunately, he will fall. Decimate, though, was so fast to trade. LA keep control of the hill. Now the flank's coming through from Aqua. There's one. There's two. Beautifully timed. Aqua to the rescue. And just like that, if there was any chance of Florida breaking the hill, Aqua responds and shuts it down himself. Decimate with a fantastic first rotation, by the way. He finds himself on a 4 streak as things stand, 17 and 11. Aqua on a 3 streak as well, sitting at 14 and 11. LA Guerrillas are taking the fight to Florida, and I absolutely love what I'm seeing.
Absolutely. And then the stat line is actually super interesting as well, because Saints gets brought on the team. We're expecting him to be the guy that's dropping numbers. Well, he's double negative. Everyone else, though, is looking phenomenal right now. They're outslaying their opponent by 15, 20 kills, whatever it's going to be, and you've doubled the score of your opponent in the hard point. They are firing on all cylinders. But of course, for Florida, working on that comeback story. They do have the preferred spawns, but they're trying to get at least a little bit of time on P1, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to get any, so it's going to be a long time coming before they start chipping away at that lead.
And just to kind of touch on the Saints point, for maybe some of the newer viewers that may not know the history of Saints specifically, I mean, we're talking about just a Slayer, right? That's what he's done his entire career. He's run around, he's killed things. Right before the Go season, he actually went positive at every single event he attended in terms of his KD. The guy is an animal when it comes to slaying, and it's very rare to see him, negative, but at the end of the day, I don't think he's going to care too much about his individual stats if the LA Guerrillas can keep up this tempo and keep taking the fight to Florida.
Yeah, I mean, the bigger point, even if he's not bringing the kills, is he is there to make them better respawn, and apparently it's looking like that's going pretty well. But now Florida pressures on. They got this hill again. This is actually where Florida had the most success. The issue for them was the rotation after this hill. Seems like so far so good in and around the point. They're gonna have plenty of bodies. Decimate trying to work his way around back, but Havoc's got it covered. Even if he doesn't win the gunfight, enough damage that Awakening is gonna be there for the trades.
Oh, Vivid slid into the hill, and well, he said hello, what's up to Pharaoh. I'm not sure exactly how he got that kill, but either way, LA Guerrillas have at least contested the hill. This is absolutely perfect for them. Unfortunately for Blast, he will fall. He was able to find 2 before that. 13 seconds left in scrap time. This time, however, the rotation a little bit different. Number 8, that's going to be Frosty from Florida Mutineers, has a big gunfight that he actually kind of needs to win. It's going to be crucial, and he gets the job done as well. That should have a positive impact on the spawns now for Florida. For all of the hard work for LA Guerrillas, I mean, it's not completely undone, Chance, but it's going to be a little harder now to close out this game.
I mean, we saw a full 60 on this hill previously, right? So Florida, if they get that bounce back, they're right back in the game. And keep in mind, Awakening, new man on the roster, CDL debut, on a 7 spree at the moment, but he's also letting a ton of kids, or teammates, or enemies, I should say, running through tracks while he's killing them on the opposite side. And while the pressure towards the hill is being dealt with by his teammates, so Awakening on a tear, his teammates are doing the drop over in the old hill, and the Slayer was going off, couldn't get the third, but Ben, the man, has 25 kills in the game.
That would have been a disgusting way to find I think it would have been the 8th kill in a row there for Awakening. 25 and 14, a minute 27 hill time. Florida were down, but they're not out. Make the comeback, and may actually just take the lead on this hill as they have the spawns to do so. The final few seconds go their way. Another lead change comes through. I like Guerrillas. This really a time in the game where it comes to about just recomposing yourselves. You had the lead, you had control of the game, have one good hill, try and flip the spawns, potentially close out the game on P1 of our new rotation.
And this is the moment where a couple players on Guerrillas need to really kick it up another notch, right? Because the momentum has swung away from their favor. They're still having those 50 gunfights in and around the hill, because like Florida, it's really just one man. Pharaoh was by himself. He's bought his teammates enough time to get that support. And Florida had the opportunity to go and get this break, and really the Guerrillas just struggling to get this hill time. And it's just the amount of slaying. Like, the team that has not had the favored spawns on this hill has done a pretty good job of picking up in the slaying category to keep the enemy out. This time, though, Blast picks up 2 big kills, and those final 20 seconds absolutely are going to be going the way of the Guerrillas, who are going to bump their lead up to about 30, 35 points.
And that's important time to get because they've not been able to win the fight on rotation. There's still going to be one big fight going down on the bottom side of your minimap, and it's actually Vivid that wins it. He finds Pharaoh, but Vivid with so much work to do. There was 4 Florida players surrounding him, and he's unable to find much more. Decimate, though, wants to try and keep putting the pressure forward. He's going to spot Awakening's gun, shuts him down. Again, though, he's going to have to wait for a little bit of support from his teammates. As of now, LA Guerrillas a little split. And for Florida Mutineers, they are all inside the hill. The kill feed, though, is starting to go purple. 206, 184. It is still advantage LA Guerrillas, but they'll need a break here if they want the chance of closing it out.
And I think that's a pretty big missed opportunity by the Guerrillas. They maybe would have been able to put the pressure, but Blast took a very long time rotating in from the forest. So first push is going to get stopped in its tracks. The second push is going to have to be a little bit more frantic, a little bit faster coming in from Guerrillas. But you look at the feed, Florida aren't having any issues at all. Every kill seemingly going their way. Another lead exchange we are going to have ourselves in this game. And this time, this hill, 20 seconds left. All of that going to be going away the Florida Mutineers. You got that seesaw back and forth effect game going right now. And frankly, Florida, again, going on a tear. This time it's Skies that's streaking out.
And I want to give a ton of love to Pharaoh. I'm not sure if you saw what he did there on the minimap, but with about 30 seconds left on that hill, he just rotated all the way to the back of the map. A really, really smart decision. He's going to put even more pressure now on LA Guerrillas because essentially what he's doing is saying, well, we may not close it out on P1, but you're going to have to break the spawns. You now have to take 2 fights, which is going to be so tough for LA Guerrillas to do. Of course, it is advantage Florida, 228 to 210, but keep your eye on that minimap. The bottom right of your screen, number 9, that's Pharaoh. He's in such an important spot, and the more kills he's able to get, just like that, there's 2 for Pharaoh, the more pressure he's putting on LA Guerrillas. Yes, there's still fights inside the hill, but for Florida, they're really not all that important because Pharaoh was essentially just giving them a win condition. Finally, he does full. And now with 24 seconds left, Florida can still win it on P1.
And Florida should be putting a lot more pressure on P1 as well. I think they actually maybe a couple missed opportunities to try to milk a couple extra points. But if you're not going to try to milk the time on P1, you might as well get the rotations. That's what Havoc is now attempting to do. Multiple players seemingly able to get behind enemy lines, and Guerrillas not aware.
Oh, if Havoc maybe was a little quicker, he could have forced a 1v1. Now, a 2v2 starts to develop. Decimate with a big job to do. He'll find the first. Can he find the second? He has an inkling of information that Havoc was thinking about pushing through the side doors. Florida Mutineers, they need 9 more points. Decimate first line of defense here for LA. He'll find 1. The trades come through. Florida break inside, and Saints has to go big. Unsuccessfully, though. And Florida Mutineers should be good to close things out here in game 1, 250 to 222.
The battle for the new man on the roster, who's having a bigger impact. Awakening by the end of that completely started turning up, outperformed Saints and looked a lot better because double negative when you're up by 70 points doesn't look bad at all. You're getting the job done. The team is making whatever they need to have happen. Double negative by the end of the game where you blow the lead, you end up losing, does not look nearly as good. So credit to Awakening. Apparently the man can slay.
Yes, he can. He went on a couple of streaks throughout game number 1, as you mentioned. Finishes with a nice little stat line, 33-25, a minute 41 hill time as well. The man, quite simply, doing it all. Most hill time, most kills for Florida. A great map number 1 from him. And, of course, the Florida Mutineers. It didn't start off all that easy, though, Chance. For a moment there, it looked like LA Guerrillas were going to run away with it.
And I will say, too, as it's a bit nitpicky to criticize Florida after making the comeback. So credit where credit is due. But I think that P1 towards the end is the type of situation where there's a few teams in the league that are really good at min-maxing their values because they were, maybe 15, 20 points away from ending the game with 40 seconds left on that P1 hill. And you got Pharaoh that's still thinking about, the next rotation. He's sitting in the back, but he maybe went 30 seconds without really blocking spawns, without really getting a kill. And yes, it does work out in the end, but I think there's a lot of teams in the league that are starting to figure out of hey, this is a moment where we do not need to play the standard way on this hill. We can throw something else at the wall and just go full on in, try to milk every single second on P1 and just end the game there. But obviously, hey, you get the win. What's the point of criticizing? But sometimes the devil can be in the details.
Honestly, I think you're absolutely right. Either way, though, Florida do come out and take game number 1. We'll take a look at our U.S. Air Force quick scope. Just a comparison, really, between these two teams for you to kind of get a perspective on this type of a series. For Florida Mutineers, of course, they have 100 CDL points. The LA Guerrillas, 40. More importantly, though, Florida Mutineers do have an event win this season under their belt. So I think if you're doing your predictions here, your smart man or your smart money is on Florida Mutineers to take it. But for some reason, even after game 1, I'm a little optimistic for the LA Guerrillas. I know, Chance, you've talked a lot about their search and destroy, and you happen to think that they're maybe one of the better teams in the league.
Yeah, they're definitely towards the top, and I think long-term, like, they might be a team that can be a serious threat. I think Guerrillas, again, their biggest issue has been slaying power consistently. That's exactly why they made the roster change. And yes, that first map wasn't a fantastic indication of what I think this team's potential is, but I just think this is a team that if they can figure that out, that's when they become terrifying. And if they peak at the right time to do it is at the end of the year. So I do definitely think that long-term, the Guerrillas are going to be a threat. But still, for this series, I just see no reason to doubt Florida anymore, right? Or at least not to a certain degree. They've proven everyone wrong time and time again. They still look great. They beat Chicago again yesterday. The new man on the roster that's replacing Pristini looks fantastic. So we'll see if Florida can let it ride.
Yeah, he looks very, very good, that's for sure. I know we just had a quick glance at our CDL points as well, and worth mentioning just how close it is. Both at the top and the bottom, the middle teams, if you kind of break down our leaderboard into kind of 3 different blocks, it's so close, and I guess I'm excited to see who comes out this weekend on top, Chance.
And then the pressure for the seeding is pretty important as well, because it is something that there's a handful of teams you can say of like, hey, champs is the only thing that matters. You need to make the run at the end of the year, but you still want the seeding for champs. And like, let's say Guerrillas do turn their game around, start to make these improvements and start getting these wins. All the teams that are right next to them are starting to do the exact same thing. Toronto Ultra have been looking a little bit better. Seattle apparently are looking like a much more serious threat. So if everyone's really starting to get a very good grasp on the game, everyone's starting to even it up to closer 50-50 no matter who they play, it's going to be not impossible to climb the standings, but much more difficult than it was at the start of the year. So the pressure really is on.
Yep. Especially when you get those games where, you know, you're playing against someone roughly with the same amount of CDL points, right? It's like a double whammy, if you will. Not only will you get the 10, but you also stop the opposition getting 10 as well. Either close a gap or build a gap very, very quickly. And we're about that point in the year now where those series are going to start coming in very, very often and frequently, and it can have a big effect by the end of the year. Either way, game 2 underway. We'll head over to our Ability Search and Destroy. We're on board with Havoc. We're ready. Fast and furious, straight down mid-map. They'll shut down 1, and the trades are there. Already Vivid. In 20 seconds, finds himself in a 1v4, unsuccessful. Florida take round 1 with ease.
Ben, when's the last time we've casted a Piccadilly?
It's been a while. I think the last time we casted one was London Royal Ravens, where Huntsmen got himself 4 and
was that a Minnesota? Against the Røkkr?
I believe it was. Yeah, I believe it was against Røkkr, yeah.
I don't even know. I literally just like saw the map and I was like, I remember seeing it. I don't remember actually having to cast over. But either way, I mean, super fast first round. He didn't even have time to really process anything, but Florida completely on point. And again, Awakening, showing up in the feed, dropping 2 kills. Not too shabby from the young man.
Oh, again, just overall a good debut yesterday, but more importantly, a good debut of an event weekend from him thus far. Is he potentially a missing piece for Florida to get back into championship caliber form? Potentially, and he keeps playing at this pace, that's for sure. Round number 2, though, a lot slower than round number 1. Still waiting for that first blood to come through. Round was over at this point. Will Havoc find that first blood? Yes, he will. Nice snipe on towards Blast, and once again, Florida with the man advantage.
And Havoc just so quick, no time wasted, slide out, quick scope. You just didn't even have a moment to react. Aqua trying to get the little bounce back, and frankly, the debate right now is, do you want to try to get the bomb down? A couple picks come through, but still, it is a 2v3. You don't really have a free opportunity unless you got a smoke to get the bomb down today. So Saints just going to wrap it out. He feels the pressure. Trying to play peekaboo with Frosty, who, well, just going to call it to his teammates, hey, the rotation to B is on the table. Make sure you're over there. Make sure you're ready.
23 seconds left. 83. One of the LA Guerrillas. Saints and Decimate trying to make something happen here. Now, bear in mind, Saints does have bomb with 14 seconds left. If he isn't quick here, their win condition is just going to become kills if he can't get himself over towards the bomb. And, well, unfortunately for him, his teammate will fall. So with 7 seconds left, he now finds himself in a 1v1. No chance to plant. He actually knows exactly where Skies is. Skies reveals his position, but 1 second left. You got to go, Saints. Unfortunately, runs out of time. And Florida will take round 2.
And again, another nice round for Florida to come in and get. I think, honestly, the utility was a pretty big factor. Like, the first blood is always nice to get with a sniper, but I think realistically, you basically forced Guerrillas to play a little bit slow because they had to wait out all the attacks, all the nades that were coming through. And by the time they could even think about getting the bomb down, well, they already had too many players that fell to their death. So not an easy spot to be in. And again, if the Florida team is able to just win the search and destroy, I'm not saying that's the dagger, but the back-to-back respawns against this team is not seeming super likely.
For me, looking at this series, I thought, as you kind of pointed out, really at the start of the show, LA Guerrillas have to win the searches, right? The 2 and 5 try and steal a respawn. I think they have the potential to do that. And of course, this is by no means over just yet. But they do find themselves 2-0 down to a Florida team who look completely in control for the first time. Man advantage against Florida. It's 3 versus 4. On board with Skies from Florida. His bomb has been planted. 35 seconds left. Vivid did not want to take any time whatsoever. Gets himself 2 in the feed and one for Pharaoh. Good luck with the snipe in the 1v4. Flies straight out. Misses a couple of shots. Finally cleans up Blast, but the trade again there. The defuse will come through, and LA will get their first round win.
I'm waiting for some craziness to happen, you know? I want those, like, 1v1s at the end. Like, I guess Saints maybe, like, almost had the 1v3, but he was effectively in a hopeless situation. Pretty much all these rounds are just bullying the other team out. Whoever's getting the first blood, they convert, they stack up together. I think you saw Havoc was in between 4 players by the end of that round, so just a nice job of grouping.
I'm going to be honest, I feel like that's just Piccadilly in a nutshell, right? It feels like every single time we see this map, it's more so... you know, whoever kind of gets that first blood, they start to get maybe a little bit more momentum, numbers, maybe more numbers, and it's more blowout rounds really than the nail-biting close ones. Yes, there's been a few on the year, of course, exception to every rule, but for the most part, or at least when we've been casting it, it feels as if it's kind of blowout rounds. As Florida do have the advantage 2-1 here in game number 2. You also lead the series 1-0 if you're just tuning in. Aqua with the first blood though. Or LA as playing tie things up 2-2.
Vivid somehow staying alive. He was seemingly caught with his pants down and takes a bit of damage, but still going to be up. Awakening, though, able to even up those odds at 4-4, and those bomb plants should be able to go down effectively for free should they choose, but maybe don't have enough pressure in towards the shoe store, so they don't want to try to get it down just yet. But they've already had one round that was problematic because of time on the clock. They can't afford to waste it anymore, and as soon as that pick comes through, Vivid gets the bomb down.
No bomb planted. Blast, Vivid, Decimate up here for the LA Guerrillas. Awakening, Skies, and Havoc up for Florida. Skies did just get a little bit of information. Awakening, though, maybe to play just to his right-hand side. That's Vivid. Skies actually finds that pick. Good communication, obviously, coming out there from Florida. Maybe 2. Now it's all down to Decimate, actually, in what was a 1v3, makes it a 1v2, and you see the movement just enough. Havoc will get the defuse. Florida back to a 2-round cushion.
Yeah, Awakening showing off one of the easiest things, honestly, you could do if you want to improve your gameplay is just master that bunny hop coming down. If you're the one doing the bunny hopping, you're gonna win the gunfight 80-90% of the time. It's a little OP, but either way, Decimate put himself in a nice spot. Technically, the Guerrillas had the setup they wanted for the post-plant positioning, but Awakening makes the read, shreds Decimate towards the end, and makes sure you solidify that round. So full steam ahead. It was a slow, maybe first 3 or 4 minutes of this series for Florida Mutineers, but ever since then, they've just been full steam ahead.
Yes, they have. Good, just to have a quick glance at your stats. It's Blast 1-4 for the LA Guerrillas. On the other side, really no one underperforming, relatively equal. It's just Awakening 6-2 leads the way for Florida Mutineers as well. There's a first blood. That's going to make him 7-2. Vivid will fall again. Man advantage for Florida.
Havoc, though, try to get a little bit too greasy. He's going to get cut off, but effectively the bait was going to be there. Pharaoh actually gets the trade out for his teammate. You maintain that life advantage. You got a very quick 3v2, and you have the opportunity as well. Awakening, thinking about the flanking. He's going to go to the old London Underground to go all the way around. The arrows have not moved, so I don't think they've heard him, and frankly, Awakening might not even be important at his teammates are getting all these kills, but the flank does come in towards the end, and another perfectly executed round. This is not looking like the LA Guerrillas of yesterday, Ben.
Yeah, I was expecting a little more here in game 2. I want to write them off just yet for the series, but to your point, you know, winning back-to-back respawns against Florida is going to be tough. Be very, very tough. In fact, as well, Florida seem just almost to be in cruise control here in this search and destroy. It's been relatively simple stuff from them as they lead 4-1. And again, it's the new man on the block, 8-2. Great search and destroy performance thus far.
Guerrillas, though, trying to get something a little bit fancy. Aqua's going to get tagged up, shot maybe 7 or 8 times, but Plywood doing just enough to keep him at bay. So no first blood yet, but of course, Guerrillas again, time on the clock is always an issue. Not just yet, but still, they don't have a ton of map pressure. They don't have a lot of map control. You see trophies out from the other side, and you got the first blood as well. Florida Mutineers on point, Pharaoh on point. All the kills coming through, Ben. Again, full steam ahead.
Nice little fight from Blast, though, as Vivid also spontaneously gets the pick as well, so it's now 3v3. Well, possible for LA Guerrillas. Of course, they are on the attack. Vivid has bomb in hand. And they don't really have any site control at either A or B. Still a nice setup from Florida. You have Skies over towards B. And he's just going to be a nuisance to take care of. With 28 seconds left, time is ticking. You got to go. Vivid instantly recognizes, all right, maybe going to A might not be that easy, but he really doesn't have much time to rotate. Havoc just to the right. That kill may actually come through, but Havoc does find the pick just in the nick of time. Now, essentially, it's all going to come down to Skies rotating off the B site over towards A. It's a 1v2 with 9 seconds left. He knows Vivid's on bomb. Is he going to find the pick just in the nick of time? No, he's not. And what looked like a round that, if I'm honest, Florida were in complete control of, LA managed to get the win.
And that's a very big round as well. I can't remember which player it was, but whoever got the flank over on Havoc, that's the secure of the round, right? Because the setup that Florida was able to put up for themselves, Skies had one bomb site control. Havoc is watching over Fair, who's sitting on the bomb, but pretty much the middle of the map can be open if someone was able to get past Pharaoh's line of sight. That's exactly what happened. So the setup was almost perfect, but the one small hole was something that the Guerrillas were able to find.
7 underway. Florida still with the advantage, 4-2. There's the first blood again for Awakening. I feel like that's like his 3rd or 4th here in game 2. It's his 9th kill. Pharaoh also doing a nice job. He sits at 7-4 here for Florida. There's a bomb already planted. And with Florida with the man advantage here, this is going to be a tough round for LA Guerrillas.
And Havoc is in a very interesting spot as well. You see his teammates effectively have a ton of the map covered, but he's just somewhere mid-map in a sneaky spot, and he's got a player right next to him. So you imagine at some point he's going to pounce, but while that's happening, Awakening is going to fall. Vivid's going to be able to pick up 2. Blast is going to hit the snipe, and an interesting spot or not, you only got 2 players left.
Oh, Havoc, he had a chance there maybe to pick up 2. Will only find 1, and what looked like a very unique post-plant setup just completely falls apart. LA Guerrillas, a fantastic retake. They'll get the defuse, and they'll put themselves now 1 round down.
And yeah, that's another setup where I think someone really just dropped the ball on the side of Florida, right? Like the flank, like it's not even like the flank isn't potentially obvious, right? You know players are going to go over towards B all the time. You expect pressure to potentially come through. Vivid just kind of walks up, shoots 2 players in the side effectively for free. Blast, meanwhile, is hitting snipe. So you have the perfect setup, nice little 5v4, but you give Vivid a little bit of room, and well, he takes advantage of it. Starting to heat up just a little bit, so you talk about the momentum shifts in the game. Maybe he's now the player starting to get that hot hand.
Actually, LA Guerrillas 1 round away from tying things up. They go back on towards the attack. Vivid looking for first blood against Frosty, connects. Just Aqua follows that up as well with a pick. 5 versus 3. Havoc restored. Maybe next on Vivid's list. As the nade goes out, unfortunately for Havoc, the pick still yet to come through. And well,
okay, I didn't know about that.
That's a pretty cheeky little angle there. Not really too sure Havoc knew about it there until he really saw the player move, and that's cut timing 101. You hate to see it, you really do. And that's the round. LA Guerrillas, beautifully done. The past few rounds, the retakes have been phenomenal. The site control has been fantastic. It tied up 4-4.
You know what, I'll say, Ben, I love learning. I snipe from that spot all the time when I'm playing this map. Like, that's like one of my go-tos. I've never noticed it. Like, it's not even super impactful necessarily, because if you shoot him there, you're going to get the hit marker. But the information isn't bad. And of course, the COD timing didn't work out. But I love learning. That's all I have to say, you know? I'm also kind of annoyed. I think it's the more important part, but whatever.
I think he was almost as confused as maybe we were there. He's like, wait a minute, did that just change? Oh, Lord blessed. With the quick scope. An awakening that's been getting all the first bloods. Well, you're going to get blooded this round. A fantastic snipe is the man advantage now for LA Guerrillas. Can they put themselves in the lead for would be the first time here in game 2? Well, first he is going to get bombed down. Now pressure run. Nice snipe again from Blast. Looking for potentially a third. Havoc's in the same spot. Aqua this time reads it. Not necessarily play the same spot 2 rounds in a row. Aqua not letting him get away with it there. 5 versus 2. Surely this round LA Guerrillas will close out, and they'll do so with Vivid getting a double. LA Guerrillas 1 round away from tying up the series.
Yeah, what was that? You remember, hey Ben, you remember 2 rounds ago that setup that Florida had that didn't work at all because Vivid went over towards the ambulance, picked up a double kill. Havoc was in like the interesting spot, but still he gets killed. It didn't make an impact. Well, they tried it again in a 4v5, and you know what happened? They knew exactly where Havoc was. Vivid went over towards the ambulance, picked up a double kill, shot some players in the side, and I would say if there have been adjustments made in this game, the Guerrillas have done a slightly better job. Just slightly, you know?
Just a little bit, yeah. I think it's fair to say is LA put themselves 1 round away from tying things up. Saints still struggling a little bit here in game 2, as is Decimate, 3 and 8. Really to see him struggling in Search and Destroy, but Vivid really leading the way, 12 and 4. And for Saints and Decimate, I don't think they're going to care at all really about those individual stats if they can close out game 2. Hasn't been easy by any means. Realistically, Florida controlled the early parts of this map, but fantastic search really coming out of LA Guerrillas so far as we wait for a first blood to come through. This round slowed down quite drastically, Chance.
And first bloods have been a bit of an issue, I would say, for the Guerrillas. Their bounce back and the rounds have been nice, but they've been getting picked apart by nades. But the nade return to sender. Decimate able to take down Skies. First blood going their way, trying to shut the game down. You got the dead silence popped on Vivid, and he gets his head taken off.
Awakening doing everything he can to keep Florida alive here in game 2 and force round 11. Still, LA with 25 seconds need to get the bomb down. 4v4. Time is ticking. B is going to be the site they choose which to attack, and the resources are rotating quick from Florida. They get themselves 2 kills in quick succession. There's the third. Havoc gets 2 in a row. Decimate, last man alive, will find 1, but with 6 seconds in a dream, the round is over. Florida force around 11.
Get first blood, lose the round. Just kidding. Shouldn't do that, but either way, again, nice little bounce back. It seems like the late game decisions really just been basically a seesaw, right? You got both teams making the bounce back after getting blooded with the nades. And round 11, pressure, I think a little bit more so on the Guerrillas, not wanting to go down 2-0 in this series, but they're down 4-1 in this game. Done a very nice job to get themselves to this point. Now it's about clutching up on defense. Florida not going to A this time. Try to get out that the setup that they had is not going to work. Try to play for picks over towards the B side.
I mean, you wanted to see an adjustment. This may be that adjustment coming through. Maybe a quicker pushover towards B, but it's been slowed down thanks to the nades and utility thrown out by LA. They essentially have Florida pinned right at the back of the map. As we patiently wait for that first blood to come through. Awakening, you gotta be careful. You know the snipes are out for LA. Pick here could be crucial or devastating. And on, of course, who it is that gets it. Pharaoh falls. Vivid finds the first blood. Advantage LA here in the round 11.
And now you spent all this time. You've already used a ton of your nades. Now how are you going to get clearance on this B site? Someone's got to make the play. Skies is the most aggressive on the map right now. I think he's going to know that Blast is roughly around there, but not easy to get this pick, and Blast might not give him much to work with.
The timing there was ridiculous as Vivid peeks up again. He finds himself 3 in the round 11. Beautifully done. Skies is pinned down. 1v4. 17 seconds left. Good luck. Have fun, not gonna happen. LA recompose himself there in the search. They take it to the round 11, and they close it out, tying up the series, one map apiece.
And Vivid having seemingly one of the easiest games he's might have had in his life.
How many double kills you want to feed the man, right?
He's not doing anything crazy, right? His movement's not on fleek. Like he's just hanging out, pulls it up, pre-aiming something, or just walking on a flank, and like it just seems like they were feeding him kills for free. Just dropped 15. Drop 15. I don't think he was sweating at all. A very nice and comfortable game for him, and the main factor in the bounce back.
2 defensive rounds in a row. He did basically the same thing. He just walked up the same spot at ambulance and went, "Oh, there's 2 of you here."
And then that final round, he went and stood behind a concrete block.
Like what? Finds himself 3. That seems so simple for Vivid. I mean, maybe that's a testament just to how good he was on that map, that he made it look that simple. His timing on point. That's really all you can say. A great performance from him. 15 and 5, triple positive there in game 2. LA Guerrillas tie things up 1-1 against the Florida Mutineers. This series just got interesting. We're going to go a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with game 3.
This is our crazy event. One of the most stacked groups we've had throughout the entire season.
Atlanta FaZe, your Florida champions. Salium, a huge clutch.
Dallas Empire second home series win.
Not 1, not 2, but 3 plays are going huge for Dallas Empire.
There it is, Octane doing what Octane does.
Røkkr clutch up once again. The Røkkr are lighting it up.
Huntsmen show who's on top.
Stevie, stop it!
They will be your Seattle home series champions.
Florida, close it out!
Pharaoh, he finds another one. Ultra have done it. First time getting out of group.
The kill feed all purple.
An absolute rampage from Decimate right now. Real fast, he fights 2. No, that's ridiculous.
Call of Duty League is brought to you by Metro by T-Mobile. Stay connected to what matters most with the best value in wireless.
Titans 1 Pro Draft. Opponents become teammates this CDL Sunday in Call of Duty League Warzone Weekend, presented by Metro by T-Mobile. Time to see who comes out on top. It's been fantastic watching some of our pros play Warzone, and we'll see exactly what teams are made. But back to business. Of course, day 2 of the Minnesota home series, and we've got ourselves potentially a great game on our hands. Series tied 1-1. Before we get into game number 3, though, I do want to have a quick glance at our U.S. Army tactical play from game 2. Of course, the search was a close one. It goes to round 11. I feel like just this weekend, Chance, we've had a fair amount of round 11s already. It's again, the quality of gameplay, it seems, is just at such a good standard right now, if you will.
I mean, again, it's every single team, I think, in the league now, we can almost definitively say that has looked bad, look a lot better. Every single team at a certain point through this year has made improvements. All the team, well, maybe not all the teams at the top, but quite a few are at least like showing some signs of weakness. Some of these guys that were top 4 at one point are really seeming to fall down in the standings. So the shakeup is here. The teams towards the bottom look good, and Guerrillas might just turn into the perfect example. Love that. You got guys like Vivid now in the league. It's, again, just a fresh face we have in the CDL, and man just dropped 15 then.
And honestly, it's just it's nice to see a lot of these new faces come into the league and put up just great performances. You know, have those great moments where you go, all right, yeah, well, Vivid basically just one LA Guerrillas that search and destroys. He was so impactful in so many rounds, and to be frank, made it look easy. He really, really did. And of course, now the series tied at 1-1. Before the series started, Jens, I know you said for LA Guerrillas 2 and 5 were crucial. Well, they get the job done in 2. Now it's about trying to steal a respawn. Game 1, they had a chance. It felt like they were in control for quite some time at the hardpoint, couldn't close it out. Now, though, we head to a St. Petro domination.
Yeah, it would be interesting to talk to someone from the Guerrillas just about how deep that map pool is right now. Obviously, throughout the year, not the strongest, I think would be fair to say, but they're starting to make improvements, and I think we saw a shade of that yesterday, where first hardpoint they played, they looked great, everything was fantastic. Next hardpoint they played, they get a 100-point club. So yes. I think it's a situation where they're still trying to depth out their map pool as much as they can. Yesterday they played on Hackney domination, got bullied out. This time they mixed it up to Petro.
Shout out to our observers, as always. And in creative, love to see that. As game 3 underway. Aqua on your screens up top. For the LA Guerrillas, they've got just making sure no one from Florida can jump the B flag quickly, try and get a sneak cap underway. And just a talk domination chance as we, early parts of game number 3. The expectation for specifically this map in the series, how does it look statistically?
Oh, I mean, well, this is one of the very few maps that, even statistics aside, I'm not really going to make a prediction. Like, I do think both of these teams are going to be very close, but it could be one of those things where fair. One player gets one spawn, or Frosty, like, locks on the bound, forces back, and then all of a sudden, 10 seconds later, there's a triple cap, and the game is blown wide open. Like, we have seen crazy stuff on St. Petro Dom, and if it needs to be very obvious to me before I'm willing to put my reputation on the line to predict a Petro, man.
That's a fair statement. That's fair. Still early parts of game number 3, and it is Florida with a very, very small, minute lead. And, well, seems we are in the early parts. I want to send it now over to an Astro Gaming listening with the Florida Mutineers.
I'm getting right. Bottom out right now.
There's 2 on B. One pushing right along. I got some guys. Top has dead.
Goes one.
Yeah, they could have. He's either going long tree or
one shot middle or right side.
top has dead.
Nice, Vivid dead.
I got
one line. Nice, decimate, top pitch, top.
FP1.
Yo, you should go to A, no bullshit.
Okay, well.
He's
talking. He's always chong long.
Right
dead, right
I'm top kitchen. Yo, I'm top kitchen.
Yeah, FP1. FP1, they're long. Middle street dead.
Yeah, you get that? I'm getting
Well, the communication and the listening was good. For Florida, they were down, but as they get control of B and C, we may see a lead change come in relatively soon here. There's a quick glance at the overhead. You can see the pressure really being applied by Florida as they push past B. Want to really pin LA at the back of the map if possible, but still, I guess this Game 3 continues with the theme of the series. Chance for me, just very, very close.
Very close, but this is a situation where the next 2 minutes, Florida very well might be able to just keep the Guerrillas pinned in the back. They had a very nice setup. They have a ton of pressure. You see Awakening in a slaying position, and that is all 5 dead on the side of the Guerrillas, who again, they start spawning out all the way on the right side of the map. It's going to take them 15, 20 seconds just to book it to the B flag, let alone having to win the gunfights, having to get the trades, and then having to deal with the players coming off respawn. So this is a dire situation, at least in the first half for the Guerrillas, who still cannot get past this front line.
Yeah, it may not look that dire right now, right? With the score of 52, 45, a minute 30 to go. But the fact that zero progression has really been made of LA getting out of their base. You see the consistent pressure coming in from Florida. Havoc pushes straight behind. He'll find one. It's just beautiful stuff from Florida. They have essentially just pinned LA back for about a minute and a half now. And there's still no sign of anyone from LA breaking towards B. I mean, the icing on the cake really for this round would be for Florida to push through at least neutral A and really put some pain and pressure on the LA Guerrillas.
Yeah, if they can get that opportunity, they're surely going to take it. But, I mean, you have Blast. You've got, what, over towards that ambulance. He's been here for like a minute, and that is like the step 1 of the capturing B process. But, again, just because the amount of pressure that was had by the side of Florida, it's just so easy to be able to hold that B flag. You see Pharaoh goes up and picks up a triple kill. You can use all your nades to just chuck them on top of the flag. So what was a very close game where the Guerrillas had a nice little lead. Again, that was a 2-minute stretch where Florida just had all the map control in the world, and they made sure they did not let go of it for a single moment.
Yep, 30 seconds left of this first round, and Florida 80 to 59. What was at one point a very, very close game, all level, has been completely blown out the water by Florida. Now a 23-point lead, and still growing as well. A great first half from Florida. Finally, with 10 seconds left, Guerrillas jump the B flag. I mean, hey, if this game ends up being a 1-point game, that final break may be important, but it is ironic that it did take them pretty much the entire round to finally break B. Either way, Florida, great first half from them.
And honestly, probably one of the more important moments of the game, I think it was Frosty. Frosty was the route man that got paid, at least in the first half of this, because he was the guy that was able to flip the spawns, get his team over towards the C flag side of things. And again, it took Florida maybe a minute or two after they got that C flag to really get the full setup that they wanted. But once they had the setup, they did not look back. And now you don't have to be the route man. You're going to start over towards the C side of things. It's going to make Florida's job that much easier. So a little bit of pressure right now is going to be on the Guerrillas to try to figure out a way to, if not flip the map on its head, at least make sure they get that 2 flag setup from the A-B side of things. So opening break is going to be important. First blood, though, way to Frosty.
Pharaoh may find his second there for Florida in this round. Unfortunately, though, 2 of his teammates do fall, so they won't be able to put pressure straight on towards B. But the lead Florida have, I mean, that's fine. The longer, essentially, you can keep this game with B neutral, almost the better for Florida. And so again, LA Guerrillas trying to attack. Nice pick from Vivid. Couldn't find the second, though. As Pharaoh trying to defend B. And LA just kind of teasing Florida. Saints actually somehow does escape, and Pharaoh may have just taken the bait a little too much. He was so determined to finish the kill. He ends up paying with his own life, and albeit may actually be capped up now by LA. This is a nice start to the round, but they have a lot of work to do.
I mean, they're getting close, but you can see just how difficult it is. It seems like Florida, again, Havoc was able to pick up 2. There's always someone that's nearby just to keep you off the flags. Now Vivid takes his turn, gets shot in the back, and again, if anything, that just highlights the chaos that is this B flag. You're on the point. There is 87 different things you have to have covered, and you only get 4 teammates to help you out. Eventually, though, finally, they break through and get B.
I'll keep your eye on the minimap. Number 7, Skies for Florida. He's actually essentially parked the bus right at the back of C. He recognized his teammates actually had a pretty far pushed spawn over towards A, so he went straight to the back of the map. As soon as he got that information, he said, nope, I'm not letting LA flip these spawns. You can have control of B for now, but I'm not giving you the favorable side of the map. Smart stuff from Skies, disciplined play. As it's actually going to be Awakening off spawn. Pushing forward, he may actually have himself a nice little flank starting to develop over towards B. LA now, all the work they did to take control of B has been undone.
And he actually had a good game plan as well. You've seen the man going back and forth between the M4 and MP P5. I don't know if he just knows where he's going to be spawning up, or if he knows that with the pressure, you got to make something happen. But he's making the switch. He's making that call on the fly, and you let him do what he wants. The man has 20 kills right now, and frankly, might need to get a couple more as well, because again, this B flag, yes, you've been able to neutralize it, but Guerrillas trying to get that quick bounce back.
And obviously, I mentioned Skies with the disciplined play. Just want to take a glance.
He's
at his
hanging
stat
out,
line.
man.
Dude, 7 and 6 with what? About 8 minutes gone.
Elite.
He's doing his job. He really is. He knows he's got to be watching certain areas on the map, and he's going to do just that. Really haven't had all that much action to do, and well, there's one gunfight. Unfortunately, may not go his way. Vivid trying to push straight through, but no, Skies backtracks, cleans him up, and again, locks down the spawns. He's doing such a good job here for Florida.
I'm cracking jokes about like the low rate of engagement, but absolutely he's doing his job. His only thing is to make sure those spawns do not get flipped. They hold the C flag, and eventually he's trusting his teammates to break through on the B flag, which apparently, if you got Awakening on your team, you're feeling pretty good about the possibility. He's going to be able to throw up 3 in the feed. He's on a nice little spree, and more importantly, the triple cap is in. Florida will in fact start running away with this game.
Yeah, this one may be done and dusted. 136 to 108. A being capped by LA, but Frosty was so sneaky to get over there. Buys his team just a little more time. Denying the LA Guerrillas getting any points. And well, unfortunately, if you're an LA Guerrillas fan, your hope of a comeback here in Game 3 may have just been shut down completely. A short spree, which all started again with the discipline from Skies to really backtrack, make sure that there was no chance of losing the spawns, and then really allow everyone else on the team be the glory hunters, if you will, the ones that are going to get all the credit. When you look post-game at the scoreboard, you'll see Awakening 24 and 20. You'll see Havoc 23 and 21. You'll see Pharaoh 20 and 15, and even Frosty at 19 and 15. You say, oh, you know, they all had a great game. Skies should probably step up to slaying. Not the case at all. As you pointed out, Chance did his job to absolute perfection, and by him doing that, allows the rest of his teammates to shine.
And like, I honestly just wonder if he was like bored at all. Like, you got all the players on your team, they got like, you know, 40 engagements across the entire map. You had 18. Like, almost every player on your team had more kills than you had engagements. Almost the same thing could be said about the other time. Like, if you were to have a heat map of Skies during that game, again, just feet up, posted up, hanging out in the back, and again, absolutely doing his job. But credit to his teammates, who were all feasting as well. You talk about Awakening, giving him credit. You got Havoc that started going on a tear. He's now at 27 kills, leading the lobby. So it really just is the map on Petro again. That's why I said I didn't want to make a prediction. Sometimes those moments just happen where it explodes. All of a sudden, 10 seconds later, the map completely changes. You got a triple cap, and the game just starts to get blown wide open, because there was a moment, even in that second half, where girls were only down by about 10, 12 points, and well, they end up losing by 50.
Yes. A lot more convincing than it looked like it was going to be. But overall, great stuff from the Florida Mutineers. Good game plan. They come out, they execute it perfectly, and unfortunately for LA Guerrillas, they just weren't able to kind of stabilize at any point there in Game 3. And this is kind of the concern that you had, right? When we talked about LA Guerrillas, their respawn, they have to win at least one, considering how strong their kind of 2-5 game plan is. Game 1 was close. Game 3, not all that much. Does it maybe look a little better Game 4 in this series, Chance?
Well, for Mazi, yeah, it looks better for the Guerrillas. It was a map that I'm expecting them to at least continue to look at least halfway decent on, if not outright good. But again, it just goes back to the theme that still is the most important part to me, where even if they look good on the map, I think Florida is going to be just as good, if not even a little bit better. So it's going to be difficult to get that win. Even if we see the Game 5, yes, I think the Guerrillas are fantastic in Search and Destroy. We saw a very nice comeback in map number 2, but they're still going to have to fight tooth and nail to get that win, because Florida is not a team to shake your head at in Search and Destroy, right? So not an easy road for the Guerrillas, but hey, if you want to make it out of bracket play in the CDL, you're going to have to beat some good teams. You're going to have to pull off an upset and do something impressive.
Yes, you most definitely are. Of course, when you talk about progressing out of bracket play for Florida, I mean, they've done that a couple of times. Obviously, they've won an event. On the flip side, for the LA Guerrillas, they've had not all that much success, if we're honest, Chance, on the season. Their CDL points, of course, do reflect that. But I feel like we've reached kind of that turning point. The improvements they've shown, they're looking good. They're looking much, much better. But still, it's these blowout games that seem to happen maybe just a bit too frequently for my liking, which is holding them back.
Yeah, and like obviously you do have to make the point of like, okay, they are playing with the new roster, they got the new or the old man that they brought back sort of thing. So it's not always easy to work on every single map to go over all your strats and search and destroy with a week of practice that these guys are going to be having. So you do expect long term it start to pay off a little bit more. But I think you're correct in saying that the blowouts are a little bit concerning just because there's been plenty of teams that have made adjustments in a one-for-one swap, and a lot of these teams look pretty good right off the rip, even if they're not getting like a ton of wins early on. The blowouts don't happen as much, so I do think this is a very important game number 4, just for momentum's sake, I would say, for the Guerrillas, just to give confidence more so in the respawns to say, hey, we do have the slaying power, we are here, ready to go, rotations on point. So Ramaza, it should be a good one. Should be.
No. For the Mutineers, they're one map away now from progressing through to tomorrow already, another semi-final. I want to take a look at some of the damage dealt, though, so far in this series. Awakening, he is having a fantastic event debut. I mean, here's a glance at some of that damage dealt. Awakening, this was, I believe, hardpoint game number 1. They did stay actually right there with him. And then a little bit of a drop-off. Aqua was there, and Pharaoh also essentially tied him for damage. But Awakening and Vivid, the two names that really we've been holding in high praise for the most part throughout this series.
Absolutely. I think, like, we actually probably need to go back and sit down and look at this and see all the players that have been not overperforming, but performing at the best, and how many of them are just, like, the new guys on the scene. Because it is kind of impressive. Like, I think for the most part, my general expectation of like, all right, we know they're good at Call of Duty, but playing in the CDL, a little bit more pressure, maybe fall a little bit flat and just look kind of average, or maybe below average. But there's been quite a few that not only do they look good, but they are playing against the best teams, the best players, not even just in the world of all time, and still looking fantastic. So I don't know if Awakening, if we'll start to see some hiccups from him, but again, so far, past 2 days, he's been fantastic so far, and well, you got to make sure you finish as well. Still more maps to win.
I think we'll get a lot of answers about what some of the newer players are made of come kind of World Championship time.
Oh, baby.
Right? Yeah, that's where
that is where
a little bit of
everyone's
pressure
opinion is getting put to the absolute test.
Absolutely. Of course, we're all excited for that, but still, plenty of Call of Duty to go before we get there, including this weekend. Game number 4 underway. It's Florida that lead the series 2-1. They can close it out here and book their ticket again to another Sunday, or potentially LA Guerrillas forcing Game 5, trying to get their ticket to a first Sunday performance throughout the season. They've been unsuccessful at doing so. As we'll got on board with Aquas inside the hill for LA Guerrillas, and so far, so good for LA.
I would like to take a moment to appreciate the tragedy of being on the Florida spawn side off the rip on this map. Is like, you know you're going to get naded. You're trying to get the timing right. Normally you wait like a second or two to let the nades pass, but sometimes no matter what you do, the nades just find a way. So there's just a very quick early break to make sure you get the hill control. But I will say, after the nades are all gone, at least off the opening break, you have a lot more clearance in and around the hill. And you see Florida doing a nice job of bouncing back and actually Awakening, making plays, by the way. He's on the bottom left in the mini-map. He just won at least one gunfight on rotation and is staying alive for gunfight number 2.
That's the awkward timing of the nade in his hand, but LA Guerrillas, they have to win a couple of gunfights, and unfortunately, they're not going to do so. I want to send it now over to an Astro Gaming listening with the Los Angeles Guerrillas.
Back right. I'm so one-y, dude. Back window. No, back window, Awakening, back window. Back right.
That could be dead.
Nice, good job, they could pitch mid.
Counter you, back in the back, Awakening, got me, counter you.
Wait, mid.
Nice, good job. Front. Back door. Back door, one shot.
Help him back door, help. I got help, yeah.
I got one.
I'm one shot.
He's back door.
Front. Pre-farm me, got me.
Nice, more front, you step.
Could be 10
should I go right? Let's go right. I got time, you can go.
He's like top end.
Yo, I can come off. Give me a sec. I have an arrow.
I'm bottom mid with Reese.
Looking out top mid. Half full, go right side.
Top window.
Watch your cam. Yo, B search for us.
Okay. It's gonna be top mid or top rugs for sure.
Go on B search, done.
Nice, good job. One top mid.
Aqua versus Awakening. Essentially what game before has turned into. Aqua was on a 6th streak, finally he falls. He sits at 10-4. On the flip side for the Florida Mutineers, it's Awakening at 10-5. Both players performing very, very well. The scoreline kind kind of reflects that in the sense it's relatively close, 71-40 advantage Florida. More importantly, though, they are still inside the hill chance, and they're building themselves a bigger lead. And more importantly than that, if you're on the mini-map, number 8, it's going to be Frosty. What are you thinking about maybe being a pain here for the LA Guerrillas as they try and rotate? He's played that perfectly.
And that is just, that is honestly horribly played by the Guerrillas. I gotta say, they just put zero pressure on that hill pretty much at all. Like, we were watching Saints up top, laying down, hanging out. He never even took a route to attempt to approach the hill. Everyone on the Guerrillas on that break was just scattered, dying in the 1v1 gunfights and the teamwork on Florida. Much more on point. And you look at the kill feed, all of that was going the way of Florida, so they have built themselves a very nice lead. And going for the rotation, Frosty, the only one near the hill.
What? Frosty has been by himself for what felt like 45 seconds. He went on a 7 streak there. He managed to just keep LA Guerrillas away from rotating, away from the new hill. The man played that flawlessly. He's now bought himself, or bought his teammates, I should say, enough time to put pressure on the new hill. So any chance LA had of kind of maybe having that seesaw effect, getting some points, Frosty single-handedly just denied the LA Guerrillas. Florida Mutineers, the past kind of 2-3 hills have been really, really well played.
Yeah, well, well played by one team, and it's just, again, not very well played by the other. There's definitely some weaknesses in the Guerrillas camp that, of course, again, not easy on short notice to try to smooth all these out, and we're just looking for improvements as the year goes on. But either way, tough spot for them to be in, down by 70. But it is worth mentioning, they were in a tough spot in the search and destroy. They were down 4 rounds to 1, and they made the comeback there. And there's plenty of time left in this game to try to make the comeback in this one.
It's true. It's true. 128-59. We head over towards Ruins now. Our last hill of this rotation. And it's Florida who somehow have the early control despite LA having a fair amount of time where they could fight for those spawns. It's still the gunfights being won by Florida, and yes, there's plenty of time for a comeback. But at the same time, this is looking more and more chance like this could just be a blowout game 4.
Still, though, trying to make sure you got to actually make it happen right now. All the players spawning in the back. And Aqua, 17 kills is not an easy force to deal with. But I suppose maybe the Aqua versus Awakening battle is still continuing to go.
Yeah, it is.
Who can throw up more kills on the board? Either way, not the worst hill in the world and worst hill in the world, I'd say, for the Guerrillas, who did a halfway decent job. But you get that full reset, you get that first set of rotations in, and either way, Florida have built themselves a very nice hill.
Scary thing for me is if Aqua does slow down, this could get out of hand very, very quickly. He's essentially single-handedly keeping LA Guerrillas as close as they are. I mean, I say as close as they are. They're down over 70 points. As we now rotate over towards our next rotation. Back over towards P1. Havoc on construction. He'll find one. Trades though coming in very fast for Florida Mutineers, and LA Guerrillas, they have no momentum whatsoever. Now in this game 4, it seems like it's almost inevitable in which they shall lose this series 3-1.
And Pharaoh was just being so annoying that he was playing his positioning perfectly. He knew exactly where the girls were going to be spawning and just making sure he cuts off those steps, cuts off mid-map, and that buys his team so much pressure when he's keeping effectively, maybe 3 players on the side of Guerrillas at bay to even begin the rotation. So Pharaoh putting in a little bit of work there. Just the perfect setup coming in from the side of Florida. They've managed to at least get the spawns potentially for next. Admittedly, they do have to win a couple gunfights to solidify that, but should be good to go. Have a very nice lead. And honestly, Ben, I don't see any reason why it would begin to slow down.
Yeah, this would be a catastrophic meltdown, essentially, from Florida Mutineers if they were to lose this. The lead now 100 points. And again, it just seems no sign of LA stabilizing. They haven't really been able to get control of the game at all. And you go to a new hill, and guess who's in there already? It's the Florida Mutineers. Vivid tries to push through the front door. Awakening lines himself up a nice 3-piece. There's with 30 seconds left on this hill. Again, it feels almost as if this series is done and dusted. LA Guerrillas, still a fair amount of work that needs to be done.
And I actually, I know it's like a weird stat that unfortunately it would take forever to try to figure out, but it seems like Awakening is probably a player that has the closest to a 50-50 split on any given map of getting the kills with an M4 versus MP5. Like, he constantly has both available to him. He is constantly switching for whatever situation he's going to be in. And like in the feed, it is tough for me to tell at times which one he's at, like which is his normal class. Like, it's very difficult to tell. Again, the split has been a little bit ridiculous, and I'm not saying it's the most important thing in the world, but something that has certainly caught my eye so far in this series.
It's definitely interesting to see how versatile he is as a definition of a true flex player, right? Well,
Yeah, I guess.
Changing out his class almost every single spawn, it feels like. I mean, you saw him there with a sub now. He hasn't rifled his hands. Very, very quick to adapt to the given situation. And, I mean, for Florida, they have the lead now, 217-94. Finally, LA Guerrillas will get themselves to triple digits. No 100-point club here. But a comeback at this point, seemingly impossible with how well Florida have played. It would, again, take a massive collapse. It really would. I know we've talking a lot about Awakening throughout the series. Again, I think he deserves all the credit in the world for a CDL debut, but Pharaoh lights up the feed with 3. He sits at 22-21, Frosty 24-19, Havoc 24-19, Skies 18-14. Everyone from Florida is putting up great numbers and doing their job. I know we talked a lot about that specifically with Skies in Game 3, who didn't have an incredible stat line. But the important part is they are doing their roles. They're doing their job. And I mean, because of that, look at the score. It's just not even close.
Dude, look at the score. Look at Skies. He's in the hill so bored. He's like drawing on the wall with this pistol. Like
it's not been an exciting series for him.
Yeah, this is the most bored Skies has been in like the past 2 weeks. He's just hanging out. It's a normal day in the office for him, I guess.
Yeah, 250 and 108.
That was a game. Yeah, that was in fact a game.
It was a game. Yeah, that was Call of Duty we just watched. That is for sure. Congratulations though to Florida. They booked their ticket to a semi-final once again. We'll see them on Sunday. For LA Guerrillas, their day not done yet. There is still a chance and some hope, but it just seems like for all the improvements they have made, I'll be the first to say they've improved a lot. There's still so much work that needs to be done, gents.
I'll say honestly, I was not impressed at all from the Guerrillas that series. Like, yeah, nice bounce back in the S&D, and they looked all right yesterday against Toronto, but for 2 series in, some of the mistakes I saw, some of the attempts of breaks on hills I saw, does not fill me with a lot of confidence for this team. On the flip side, I will say Florida is a team I was fairly down on, right? I think I've been fairly vocal, at least on like contesting the point or whatever, of saying don't have high expectations for Florida long term. Like, yes, they're a capable team, but I don't think they quite have that like it factor for where I'll see it as the year goes on. And part of that was like, I don't know what I'm expecting from Awakening. He's a fresh face for me. I didn't know how good he was going to be, but I will say, kid's apparently nasty. The team looks great, and I am a much higher, on my opinion, I will say, of this team. And I will say I have a lot more confidence in them long term than at least I did just 2 days ago.
Well, fair enough. I mean, Awakening again with some fantastic numbers, just some fantastic performances so far in his CDL debut. And you think you brought up an interesting point, really, in the middle of that series, is some of the newer faces and just how well they are performing in the CDL. It's fantastic to see, but we'll take a look now at our Scuff Gaming play of the game. It has to be Frosty for me. The man made just such good decision making, goes on a nice streak as well. To me, that was a key part in the game, Chance, where he just turned it around completely.
Yeah, nice little 7 spree again. Just like that was like the stretch where it just seemed like everything was way too easy for Florida. And I think there was probably a couple moments, like different kills, whether it was Awakening Frosty or even Pharaoh when he's randomly picking up triple kills, of just gunfight to gunfight. Everything just looks so much more comfortable, so much more loose for the side of Florida. I don't think they really felt any stress at all that series. Maybe when the comeback happened in Search, they were probably annoyed with themselves, but other than that, comfortable win. Skies got to hang out and watch his teammates go to town. Like, that's interesting. The keys to victory were like, Skies is going to have a playground. Turns out, nope, there's nothing for him to do. His teammates just went for feast.
He had time to, I guess, drop his controller and go to a literal playground and
call out.
hang out, specifically in the domination.
No, he doesn't, Ben. We're staying socially distant. We're not going to playgrounds. Right. Thank you very much.
Yes, you are correct on that one. But overall, yeah, he didn't really have anything to do but do his job. And again, I think it's super, super important. I know it's been a very, very long time. I say a long time. It's essentially the entire life cycle of Call of Duty esports. People look at KDs, they look at stats, and they say, that's what makes you a truly fantastic player. And I think it's moments like that we have to truly appreciate. And I think we need to highlight more as commentators, broadcasters, the players that do the dirty work and do their role and do it so very well. The reason Florida were able to blow out LA Guerrillas in that domination was quite simply because Skies was so disciplined to sit back and be bored, right? That was essentially his whole job. But congratulations again to the Florida Mutineers. They booked their ticket towards Sunday, but plenty of action still to come today. And up next is going to be one hell of a game. Dallas Empire versus Atlanta FaZe. Does any predictions from you on that one?
No predictions, don't care. No? I want to watch Shotzi. Like, I don't know if you, well, actually, I know you saw it because I sent it to you.
You sent it to me, yeah, the clip.
People were assuming he was using like the auto attack sprint, and they were like, bro, his movement is too crazy to have it disabled. And a guy like called him out for him, tweet blew up. Shotzi didn't go and tweet it out. I mean, he tweeted it out like publicly, but not as like his own thing. Didn't make a comment. Just responded with a nice little video and was like, hey, no, I can do this. This is how it's done. Explained it, and then just did it like first try. And literally the type of movement that he's able to apparently just do, to me, looks like a glitch. I thought it was Codcaster like breaking of just showing it weird or bug or like lag or whatever. Turns out Shotzi can just do that.
Yeah,
like the kid, he's different. The kid is just different.
If you haven't seen the video, I definitely recommend you search up Shotzi on Twitter and take a look. First of all, he didn't even need to make the video. He genuinely had no reason to make it other than just to show everyone. He's like, by the way, I'm just built different when it comes to movement. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. You watch it and you think, how is he doing that? Like, either way, Shotzi,
and of course, like in playing against FaZe, I got to imagine if like Abizi and Simp and those guys don't know about it, they're gonna see that video, listen to the explanation, and be like, "We're doing that tomorrow. Like, we're gonna figure that one out real fast."
I spent hours already just practicing, just running around in a private match.
Or they already knew, and it like has no value. Like I don't know if it's the most impactful thing, but just watching a kid like effectively like almost like break the game in like a weirdly specific way, I was just like, I can't believe he like even figured out how to do that. Like it's just kids like that don't make sense to me. It just doesn't make sense to me.
It's kind of nuts. I imagine if he's doing it as frequently as it looks like he's doing, there has to be some form of advantage to it.
That's why I want to watch him play. I don't know if it's just like in one specific spot, if he's just bored and messing around. I don't know what it is. I don't know what value it brings, but I'm definitely paying more attention to it now.
There you go for the observers. If you're listening, I definitely recommend watching him at the very beginning. But for everyone watching, of course, we have some CDL rewards. You guys can get rewarded just by watching the stream. It's fantastic, and it's just I'm so happy that finally we have it in Call of Duty Esports. I'm gonna be honest. Earning drops just from watching. Shout out to everyone behind the scenes that made that possible. If I'm honest, I think it's a great addition to our esport so desperately needed.
Agreed. I don't have a like good follow-up for that. I just agree. I like seeing the more interaction. It's nice to see, and go get some, I don't know, calling cards, emblems, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah, there's some cool stuff. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, we get some cool stuff as we get maybe closer towards our World Championship towards the end of the year. There's definitely some unique and pretty cool stuff that you can do. But again, to kind of talk about that next series coming up, I'm excited for it, man. I really, really am, because we saw the CDL standings a little bit earlier on and just how kind of close everything is at the top. It seems like every single time we're asked, who's the best team in the game? This is one of the only years that I can really think of where you could give a fair amount of just different answers. And as the year has gone on, those answers continuously changing. It's a very interesting season thus far, Chance.
And this will be, I think, the tournament that will likely give us our answer. Because, like, part of the problem is like sometimes the teams just don't play against each other, right? Like Chicago, Atlanta, still haven't seen that matchup. The two times, I think, where the potential has been there, one team just ends up falling short before the moment happens. So, yeah, the battle for best team in the game is available. This next series might be the one that could potentially decide that long term. So, definitely one to keep your eye on.
Is there any expectation, potentially, for who wins the entire series?
Gotta lean towards Dallas, I think, right? I think at this moment they look like the better team. Atlanta is scraping by against Seattle, who, yes, Seattle looked better, but I think it's smarter to be a little bit higher on Dallas.
All right, fair enough. Well, that's going to be everything from myself and Chance for now. Still plenty of action still to come, and I believe Lottie, speaking of Frosty, in our PlayStation Instant Reaction after this break.
This is our crazy event. One of the most stacked groups we've had throughout the entire season.
Atlanta FaZe, your Florida champions.
Salium, a huge clutch.
Dallas Empire second home series win.
Not one, not two, but three. Clayton going huge for Dallas Empire.
There it is. Octane doing what Octane does.
Røkkr clutch up once again. The Røkkr are lighting it up.
Huntsmen, show who's on top.
Rastini, stop it!
They will be your Seattle home series champions.
Florida, close it out.
Pharaoh, he finds another one. Ultra have done it. First time getting out of group.
The kill feed all purple.
An absolute rampage from Decimate right now.